Devin McGlockton will thrive in Mark Byington's system.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Today, we're going to break down the new impact of, we're going to break down the impact of new transfer forward Devin McGlockton and what he adds to this team. Then we're going to explore the post-spring power rankings published by SEC Mike. We're going to talk about what Vandy needs to do and how they have something to prove, even though they made big changes. And then also, as the portal window remains open, Vandy's not done. Vandy football's not done. They have two big offensive line commits, but what's next for the door? So that's what we got here. But thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So Devin McGlockton is a massive, massive get for Vandy. And there's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different reasons for that. He's going to pair very nicely with Jalen Carey in the front court. And he's going to add some much needed toughness, some much needed attitude, some much needed just overall, I guess for lack of better terms, pizzazz to this team. And I think he's somebody that's going to be, he's really, like I've talked about everybody kind of being a juice guy. He's really going to be a juice guy. I'm watching him play at Boston College last year prove that. Now, positionless basketball, when you have a guy with the skill set of Devin McGlockton, positionless basketball is perfect for him, and he's going to thrive in this system. And it's going to be fun to watch. So what I mean by that, and the reason why he will thrive, and it's because, you know, when you watch his film, he really jumps out at you. If you watch Boston College, he is kind of he's that guy that will jump off the page at you. He's the guy that's always around on defense. He's blocking shots. He's getting rebounds. He's flipping the ball out to his guards, and they're getting down the court. He's somebody that is very versatile in what he can do. I mean, I've watched him shoot threes from the top of the key. I've watched him finish dunks from all different parts of the court where he'll be out mid-range and he'll drive baseline. He'll get a rebound and put it back on a dunk. He'll dunk through traffic. He'll dunk on fast breaks. He's a pretty good shooter as well. He can do a lot of different things. He can hurt you a lot of different ways, and that's what's going to make him so dangerous in Mark Byington's system. And that's what they need, really. They need somebody that, on the offensive end, if you set a nice screen, or if you're running the lane and you need somebody to, you know, if somebody's crashing with you and you draw defenders, like let's say Jason Edwards takes the ball at top of the key, he drives the lane. Well, you got help defense coming over, and here comes McGlockton on the opposite block. Edwards can drop it down to him, and he can finish off with a dunk. And just imagine plays like that. Just imagine what Memorial Gym would look like, would sound like when that happens. You see the air deflate in the other team, and you see just the roof being elevated off of Memorial because it's so loud and so crazy. I mean, the student section needs something to cheer about, and they can cheer about it. They can cheer about that. They can go crazy about that. They can do a lot of different things with that. Shot blocking. He has great shot blocking ability. I mean, that alone defensively can start fast breaks, which is exactly what Mark Byington wants. He can swat one out. One of the guards can pick it up and they're off and running. He trails. They either drop it back to him. He nails a three, or he's there to clean up on the rebound. And so, you know, his shot blocking ability is key. And being a positionless basketball type scheme, I think, you know, it doesn't kind of matter. He just kind of, you just kind of move around and just try to get in where you fit in almost, as far as like depending on what's happening. Is if it's a fast break, you just kind of find space on the court and just kind of work in and crash the board and go attack the rim. He's good on the alley-oop. He's good in a lot of different things, and he can be just about everywhere. He can play just about everywhere. And is he undersized? Yeah, he's a bit undersized at 6'7", but he certainly doesn't play like he's undersized. And he certainly, he certainly doesn't play like he plays like he's 7 feet tall. He reminds me, and don't jump too far off the handle when I give you this comparison, but his style of play relative to his size and his stature, he kind of reminds me of what Charles Barkley was for Auburn. Charles Barkley played a big man role, but he wasn't quite a big man. Like Devin McGlockton can play the 5 spot, but he's only 6'7". Well, he plays like he's 7'6". He plays like he's the biggest guy out there on the court. And he's just got a lot of toughness and a lot of physicality and things like that. And he just has a presence out there. And he has a lot of energy and a lot of presence. And he's somebody that you have to pay attention to on the court. And if you don't, then you're in absolute trouble. So what do you do? How do you plan for a guy like that? How do you plan for a guy that can pop up anywhere? How do you plan for a guy that can shoot a 3 and block your shot on the other end of the floor? He can get rebounds, put dunk backs. He is the guy that's going to have the momentum building plays, the momentum grabbing plays. Like you need a big dunk to juice the crowd up. He's your guy, right? You need somebody on a give and go. He's going to feed you, and he has a knack for knowing where the play is and what needs to happen to make said play. He has a knack for all that. He just has an understanding of the game of what's needed and when. And I think he fits perfectly with what Mark Byington wants to do at Vanderbilt, more so than any other scheme, because he is somebody that is versatile enough that he can play anywhere on the floor and do anything that you need him to do in order to score the basketball or put up second chance points or get a key assist or just if you just need an injection of energy, he's somebody that can do it. Or if you need somebody that's going to completely deflate a road crowd, like at Duke. There was several plays that I saw when Boston College played Duke. There were several plays where the crowd's jumping up and down, and they're the Cameron Crazies are doing their thing, right? So he sets a high pick and screen right at the elbow. It's if you're looking at the court, it would be the near side elbow. They're on the so it'd be near side. So if you're looking from underneath the basket out, it would be the right elbow. And he goes up, sets a screen for the guard. Guard drives into the paint. He rolls off. Guard dishes. He slashes in. Two-hand jams it, and the crowd just went down a notch, right? There was another one where long rebound. Well, not really long rebound, but it was one of those that bounce high. And so, you have to kind of wait and time your jump. Well, all of a sudden, you see this pair of hands just above everybody else grab the basketball, pull it down, and through a sea of bodies just gets up to the rim and just jams it. And again, the crowd was taken completely out. And that's the type of things he can do on the road. Those plays at home whip the crowd into a frenzy, and next thing you know, you start a 12-0 run, and you grab a lead over a team that the previous year you had no business even being in the game with, and now you're in that game. Let's say if it's against Calipari's Arkansas team or Kentucky or Tennessee, somebody like that, you're in the game now, and now you've got a legitimate shot at winning. So that's his biggest impact. his versatility and his toughness and his ability to make those momentum gaining plays. He's somebody that he's just juice. He's just electricity, running up and down the court, making big plays on both ends of the floor, grabbing rebounds, blocking shots, dunking, hitting the occasional three, slashing to the basket, just all around, just the guy you want running the floor with you. And he's the guy that's going to start the fast break, and then at the same token, he's also can be the guy to finish a fast break. He's also the guy, if you get a steal, he's going to book it up the court, and he knows where to space, and he knows how to space out so that he can create an opportunity for himself. So massive pickup for Mark Byington. Still think he needs a big man. I still don't think he's done yet. There's some other guys out there that are being targeted, but somebody that's probably 6'10", 6'11" is still in order for Mark Byington. And I think I would like to see that come into play. So, switching over to football, post-spring power rankings came out. We'll kind of tell you what they look like. Are there any surprises? And Vandy has a lot to prove. We'll talk about it next. All right, we are presented by Gametime. Have you ever had a frustrating ticket buying experience? I mean, we all have, right? And that's because we didn't have Gametime. And by the way, Gametime is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. So prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guaranteed, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets, especially MLB tickets, right? So I think when the Preds come back home after, in this series against Vancouver, if you're watching tonight or if you're watching this weekend, when they come back home, you should hop on Gametime and see it. I was supposed to say FanDuel. You should hop on FanDuel and make a bet, but you should also hop on the Gametime and see if there's some tickets out there. And what you're going to see is you're going to see all-in pricing. So you're going to see that if you flip that feature on, there's no surprise fees. You know exactly when you see the price, that's what you're going to pay. There's the lowest price guaranteed, and Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference as well. Seat views, you get a panoramic view from your seat before you apply. So if you get into, I think they call it like C Block 303 or something like that. It's like one of the rabid supporter sections for the Nashville Predators. But you get views from your seats and you get to see what the game looks like from there. Zone deals, you pick the section. Gametime picks the seats. Flash deals. There's also exclusive deals that pertain to your city, and last minute deals as well. Things, special prices, because essentially these franchises want to sell tickets. These venues want to sell tickets, so they're going to sell tickets however they can. All right. And then lastly, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Game gets canceled, event gets postponed, they work with you. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, next we are looking at FanDuel. As I mentioned, when you get your tickets from Gametime, then you head over to FanDuel, because guess what? It's the playoffs. It's playoff time in the NHL and NBA. And also baseball's in full swing too. Some great games out in Major League Baseball. And FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. So you bet everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? You waiting for that perfect bet? Well, don't. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. All right. Welcome back. Hey, the Locked On NFL Mock Draft is available now. Find the ultimate 6-episode series on Locked On NFL Draft to hear who the local Locked On experts are picking for every NFL franchise, with live reactions from local college football experts and even the fantasy football angle. The Locked On Mock Draft is available now on the Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. As Vandy wraps the spring practice, they have a lot to prove, and that's with or without these rankings, they have a lot to prove. Well, SEC Mike at SEC Mike has released his postseason power rankings, and these rankings kind of back up that statement a little bit, and here they are. So this was very fascinating to me because you would think with all the changes, Vanderbilt would have got maybe a little bit of a bump, and with some of these teams not necessarily helping themselves in spring, but nonetheless, here they are. Okay, number 1, Georgia, 2, Ole Miss, which is probably the more surprising ranking for me. Shout out to Steve. Number 3, Texas. Number 4, Missouri. 5, Alabama. 6, Tennessee. 7, LSU. 8, A&M. 9, Florida. 10, Oklahoma. Pretty surprising top 10, to say the least. I thought Texas would be number 2. I thought Ole Miss would be 3 or 4. I didn't know Alabama would be ranked as low as they are underneath Texas, Missouri, and Ole Miss, but here we are. Tennessee, haven't heard much about them, but with Nico, it's about 6 through 10 is about right. 11 is Kentucky, 12 Arkansas, 13 is Auburn, 14 South Carolina, 15 Mississippi State, number 16 is Vanderbilt. So here's the thing. And here's the thing with the last 3, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt, or the bottom 4, actually, Auburn, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt plays 2 of those bottom 4, so that bodes well on the schedule as far as being able to, A, hit that FanDuel over, and B, maybe even go to a bowl game. So we'll kind of see where these rankings fall, but I think it's interesting that despite all the changes, despite all the positive changes, despite everything that's going well defensively, I guess the offense not being settled with the quarterback situation lends itself to a little bit of, I guess, realizing that Vanderbilt still got a lot to prove in this conference. So what does that mean exactly? So in all honesty, it means that Vanderbilt is still in the same place that they've always been as far as getting that aforementioned respect. And if Vanderbilt wants to get that respect, they're going to have to go out and earn that respect, which is what you want to do in this conference anyway. I mean, you always want to earn that respect, and you always have to earn that respect and go out there and beat these teams to get your due, or to get, as they say, to get your flowers. So, to me, I think when you look at these rankings, it's indicative of just kind of the roller coaster that this team has been on throughout spring practice. Offensively, it's been a little bit of a struggle, but then again, that struggle has also been scheme-wise, depth-wise, offensively. You don't have your quarterback situation figured out. You're still adding pieces to the puzzle from the portal. You don't know how these freshmen are going to come in and contribute, which we know Dante Carter is going to come in and contribute. But the good news is the defense has been absolutely outstanding this spring, but the offense has been a little bit of a roller coaster. And I think that's why things haven't really changed for their ranking, because I think people are just kind of in a wait and see mode with Vanderbilt, because any year someone says, oh, Vanderbilt this, Vanderbilt that, it never kind of comes to fruition. So I understand why Vanderbilt is ranked dead last. They haven't exactly proven too much of that. They didn't have a spring game to showcase the changes. They didn't have a whole lot of stuff publicized about their spring practice like a lot of other programs do. And so that kind of, I guess, in public perception can put them behind the 8 ball a little bit. So Is it something to worry about? No, because it's such a competitive conference, and Vanderbilt has kind of been at the back of the pack for quite some time now, as far as that goes. But it's going to get real interesting as Vanderbilt looks to kind of they're going to essentially sneak up on everybody throughout their schedule. But then again, they have a chance to put the college football world on notice against Virginia Tech, and we'll kind of see how that game can kind of shake out. And I know I sound a little bit bullish on that game, and I know I sound a little bit kind of like head in the clouds type situation with that game. I understand that, but the changes, I guess there's a lot of people that don't see exactly how these changes are going and how they're shaking out. So again, it's interesting to say the least. So you get to see this stuff unfold. But what they've wrapped up practice, right? And kind of the summary of it. Kind of the summary of what Vanderbilt's going through as far as that goes is that the defense is way ahead of the offense, which is true for a lot of things. But your offense is starting to kind of pick up some things. One thing that I've noticed about this team as they look to kind of prove some things is the tight end position, although it needs some depth, is going to be really, really good with Cole Spence, Tyler Fortenberry, and likely another piece, which we'll talk about as they look to add some more stuff. That looks like a pretty solid unit there. The receivers are good. There's some guys that are really kind of standing out. Jeremiah Dillon, Quincy Skinner. But again, it's a thing of, hey, we need some depth. We need some more guys that can step into these roles a little bit. The running backs are going to be big factors here. They need to add some more depth there as well. But, Alexander and Newberry are going to be the main two there. They're going to be pretty special guys, and I think they're going to do really, really well. Gillespie, Benson are also two names to kind of watch out for there. So what this offensive unit is going to have to do, and then, of course, Diego Pavia and Nate Johnson, you're going to have to figure out what to do with those two guys. There's some really nice ideas that you have with those guys. There's some really good things you can do. Both are very dangerous in the run game. And I think the first thing that they have to prove is we need an identity. Vanderbilt needs an identity. And if they're going to move out that chart, they need an identity, right? So let me put up the chart one more time here for you. If they're going to jump Mississippi State and South Carolina, which they'll jump Mississippi State if they beat South Carolina. If they're going to jump up these rankings, they're going to have to prove something. It's going to be a single table now, so you're going to see what they really have in store and see if they finish dead last. I don't think they're going to finish dead last. I think that's going to go to Mississippi State. But if they're going to jump up and beat South Carolina, if they're going to go on the road and beat Auburn, which I have predicted, yes, I realize that. Zach, you can maybe you and I can debate in a crossover this summer, but if they're going to do all of that, they've got to establish an identity, and their identity is going to be run, and not just line up in like 13 personnel, everybody crowd the ball, and we're just going to kind of, jam it in the A gap or jam it in the B gap. This is going to be kind of one of those situations where they're going to get creative with their run game. They're going to set things up. They're going to keep you off balance with Diego Pavia and Nate Johnson. They're going to, I could foresee them getting into kind of a package with Nate Johnson, but nonetheless, they have something to prove, and this is the first step. Have an identity on both sides of the ball. Looks like they have that on defense. They have guys that can fly around. Their defensive line could use a little bit of depth, but I think Prince Colley and the linebacking core, he's going to be a surprise. I think your safeties are going to be really, really good. I think Dante Carter is going to end up being an absolute star with CJ Taylor and Randon Fontenette. You're going to have some really nice work at the cornerbacks, and it's going to be a lot of the newcomers on the defensive side of the ball that are going to step right in and make immediate impact. So they have something to prove. Okay. The overhaul, did it work? The change of identity in the weight room. Clark Lee taking over the defense. Clark Lee hiring a full offensive staff that is self-sufficient. Hiring Jerry Kill to essentially be the second head coach to kind of oversee things on the offensive side of the ball so he can focus on getting this defense in the right footing. Are these things going to work? So far, they're a work in progress, but that's all that they are right now. And it's a thing, guys. It really is. And so they're 16th in the power rankings right now. That's to be expected with all the uncertainties at the quarterback position, because let's be honest, that's probably the most important position to have certainty at, is the quarterback position. And when you don't have certainty there, you don't really have certainty anywhere else. But I think they get that figured out. I think they get their identity established, which they're well on their way, and they've got some pieces and they got some reason for optimism. And, we've talked about that, but what they need to do now is continue to build through the portal, continue to feed into that identity, and really kind of go out there and shock the world starting on August 31st against Virginia Tech. So, as I said, they need to continue working the portal. They've got limited time left to add pieces from the portal. We're going to talk about what those pieces should be positionally and some of the targets that have come to mind as well. And we'll talk about that next. Monopoly Go. Some would say that I'm competitive, right? Yeah, I would say so. But listen, I have a huge announcement. I've been tracking the leaderboards every day, keeping my eye on the scores, putting all my heart into it. I'm super pumped to announce that I'm finally on top. You have to guess what my name is, though. That's right. Obviously, I'm talking about the hit mobile game Monopoly Go. You've probably heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great mobile twist on classic Monopoly that you can play anywhere, anytime. You explore hundreds of Monopoly boards from Las Vegas to Camelot to the moon, all while raking in a huge fortune. So charge rent on iconic properties just like Monopoly. You can charge your friends rent on your iconic properties, or you can go after their Monopoly money by pulling bank heists and taking wrecking balls to their landmarks. But my favorite part is the leaderboards, where you can see who's a Monopoly tycoon and who's gone bankrupt. So get yourself on the charts. Download Monopoly Go now, which is free, and it's free on the App Store or Google Play. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We appreciate you everydayers. You make all of this possible. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. So it's been a ride, man. So our goal is to get to 1,000, maybe 1,500 by the end of football season. I think we can make that happen with all of you great Vandy fans out there. So what's next in the portal? So something to prove, right? We got to prove that we're still players in NIL, which I think we're going a long way in doing so. But what's next in the portal? So we got 2 big offensive line commits. But what's next? Well, for starters, I think you need to add some depth at positions that some positions that are explosive. I think you have room to add depth at either or and. So you could go or and. At running back and wide receiver. I think you can stand out a little bit of depth at both of those positions. Running back, because, if that's going to be your identity, you need to have a stable of guys at that position that can play. You need at least 3 guys that could start anywhere. And then you need a 4th guy for, like, if one of those guys gets banged up, they can move up into that slot. Wide receiver. You've got some good ones on the roster. You've got some talented freshmen coming in, but you need to add at least one more veteran piece there to be able to get some quality depth there and really kind of find a guy that fills a certain type of role. Maybe a guy that can also contribute in the return game on special teams and maybe be on a kick coverage unit maybe. So, we talked about a target that they offered. Talked about the guy from not the guy from Oregon, the guy from Iowa. Talked about him, and also Vanderbilt is they're doing an in-home visit with UL Monroe, Darian Wiley. So that's exciting. So that's going to be an interesting thing. And if he commits, I think that gives you some much needed depth there. The thing about Wiley is he had 24 catches for 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. He is recognized as definitely an under the radar. Houston is also in on him, but he's one of the top 20 under the radar transfers. A guy that has a great skill set that can contribute in a lot of different ways. As well as Jacob Bostic is the other from Iowa. He's somebody I talked about contributing in special teams and being a guy that can win down in the red zone with the ball in the air, and that's kind of what you're looking for. You have Jeremiah Dillon. We don't know exactly what he's going to do down there in the red zone. When you get close, you got to put points across the board. You got to put 6 across the board in this league, but that's going to be kind of the key. You got to find somebody that can win in the red zone. You're going to have somebody that can potentially contribute in special teams in the return game, as well as being able to make big plays and big catches for your offense, to keep your offense out on the field and keep you in scoring position. Running back, I think you need. They're looking at some big-bodied guys. Star Thomas from New Mexico State, Diego Pavia is on him pretty hard right now, trying to get him to commit. I think he would love to have a big bruising back like that to pair with AJ Newberry and Cedric Alexander. So that'll be fun. We'll see kind of how that shakes out. But I think that's the type of running back that Tim Beck would go for in the portal to add to what he's already got, because I think he's got some good all-around guys that are versatile and can do some different things. But he doesn't quite have that hammer that can come in, that big 6'2", 220-pound, 220-pound bruiser that just comes in and just, you look at him in the fourth quarter and go, hey, big man, you ready? They don't want to tackle you, so go get it. Go close this game out for us, right? Like, that's the role they need to fill, and they need somebody that can do that early and often as well. So that's a position that I think could stand a little bit of depth. Tight end, Eli Stowers, also from New Mexico State. Stop me if you've heard this one before, but he's somebody that would add some much needed athletic depth, intelligent depth, and somebody that could just be kind of a playmaker there at the tight end position. Cole Spence, I think, is going to ultimately be the guy, but Fortenberry is going to be right there with him. Both massive targets. But Eli Stowers is a little bit more athletic and a little bit, shiftier, and can line up in probably a little bit more versatile than the other two. Can do a few more things in the receiving game, and can do some things blocking out in space as well. And you don't lose a ton by sticking them out there in wide formations with 11 personnel. So that'll be something they can add for depth purposes. And I think Zaylen Wood's going to be an impact guy on the defensive line, but they could stand to add another piece, either another edge guy or another interior guy or another big interior guy that can step in and just kind of fill a role there for Clark Lee's defense. So that's going to be an important piece there. So I think that if they address two of those areas through the portal and just kind of build the rest through recruiting, which I think they're doing with the safety position right now. They're building that depth through the pipeline, through the high school pipeline, bring them in and develop them. But I think you could potentially add one more offensive lineman too. It wouldn't kill you to do that, but that's address some of these other spots too as well. It looks like they're going aggressively after wide receivers, which is good, because if you get some quality explosive depth there, now your offense is really going to kind of take off. So, all right, we're going to have to leave you right there. So we've had an action-packed week so far. We're going to finish out the week. We got Kurt Page coming on later on this week, hopefully. And that'll be a lot of fun. We're going to talk post-spring stuff, expectations, what to make of the team now that we've had a spring football practice session. under our belts with the new overhauls and what needs to happen as far as that goes. So, but until then, we're gonna continue to roll this train down the tracks, and we'll see you back here tomorrow on a Hump Day Wednesday edition of the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. But until then, behave yourselves, and as always, follow us on social media, follow us wherever you find your podcast, and as always, anchor down.